Hello and welcome to the van build vlog. Having cut all the insulation boards to size, the next thing obviously to do is actually stick them on the walls and ceiling. And I ummed and ahed about different methods of doing this and eventually settled on this Insta Stik, which is a low expansion adhesive foam. So it's not the foam stuff you get that goes ballistic as soon as you spray it out. It just expands a little bit, and it is designed as an adhesive rather than as a filler, but it expands a bit so as to make sure all the surfaces you're sticking it on get properly adhered. The other option I considered was the one that Greg Virgo outlined in his insulation van of using stick pins, which is an attractive solution because it's really easy. You just stick these metal pins on, self-adhesive, and then you push the boards onto them. But I reckoned I wouldn't do that because I think you'd have to line your panel up perfectly with the end of the pins before pushing it on. Otherwise, if you're off by a bit and push it on, you'll suddenly find it isn't fitting the space you're pushing into. And I had visions of me pushing, no, that wasn't quite right, pushing, no, that, pushing, no, pushing, and eventually I'd end up with insulation that was more like Swiss cheese before I finally pushed it on exactly where it needed to be. Also, on a couple of my bits of insulation, I wouldn't be able to simply push them directly into place. They'd have to slot in amongst a couple of bits of metal. So for that reason, I decided to just go with adhesive. And it's all right, this stuff. It is very sticky and it doesn't overexpand. You can get a version of it that has a little applicator straw on the can, but I didn't do that because apparently that stuff is either on or off. There's no finesse in the dispensing of it. Whereas if you buy the gun applicator version and the gun to go with it, it actually has a little trigger so you can dispense it slowly, quickly, depending on how you want. And I thought that degree of control would be a good idea, and I found it to be quite useful. So you spray the adhesive onto the back of the boards, press them into place. It cures in about 5 minutes. Certainly it's done its stuff by about 10 minutes. And you just push the boards into place, hold them with some sort of prop. I was using all sorts of bits of metal I had lying around to just lean against the insulation. And wait a few minutes, it goes off, and then you can stick some more on top if you want to, or go around the edges of the board with some more of the foam, partly to fill in the cracks and partly to help keep it in place. So that was how I did all the sides on the insulating of the van. Having fitted insulation to the sides of the van, obviously the next step is to stick it to the roof. But I want to put this in the roof, a vent with a fan in it, and it makes more sense to fit that and then fit the insulation around it rather than fit the insulation with a gap and then try to match the hole in the van roof to that gap. So I've got to put this fan in, and for that I'm going to have to use this and this and make a hole in the van roof. It turns out you need a remarkable number of bits just to put a hole in the roof and put a fan in. I've got sticky stuff and painting stuff and sealing stuff and health and safety stuff. Let's just hope it all comes together in a glorious symphony of hole making. I've even bought a new ladder for the occasion. Rather pleased with this actually. Extendable, folds up really small, made of aluminium. And yet quite sturdy too. It's just up there that I want the vent to go. in the middle at the back. It'll be slightly offset from the middle because of the little ridges in the van, but essentially it's going there. So you'll have the vent drawing out air at the back, and the window with the slide in it, which will eventually be fitted there, which is at the front. So the airflow should be front to back and middle of the van up through the roof. One of the things I like about this particular vent is that once you've made the main hole for the vent to come through, you don't have to make a load of screw holes outside that to hold the thing in place, because it's designed so that this bottom section, which is inside the van going up, screws into the top section through the hole you've just made to drop the thing through. So you've just got the one hole instead of loads of separate screw holes, and I think the fewer screw holes you have to make into a van's exterior, the better. One thing I've seen all the van builds advise is that you try and catch any of the metal shavings when you're cutting the van so they don't drop inside and ultimately end up rusting. So I've just rigged up all this newspaper with some masking tape underneath the drill site, and then I will very carefully take it down when all's done. I've cut myself a square of cardboard that is 28 centimetres square using the set square, because that is the size hole you're supposed to do. And I can't unfortunately just put the fan down and draw around it because it's got these little protrusions here, so the actual hole needs to be around the exterior size of the protrusions. But if I hold that up and have a look, if anything I'd say that's fractionally big, but since the lip of the fan sticks out far enough past it, a slightly bigger hole isn't a problem, as long as it's not too much bigger. Okay. I'm just going to go and tape it from the inside so it doesn't fall down, taking the newspaper with it. Well, that should be it now. Oh my word, I have a hole. I suppose now I do a test fit. Which way round does that go? It doesn't matter since it's square, but woohoo! Oh yes! I've now filed off the edges just to remove any little rough bits, gently removed the paper that was catching the bits underneath, and that is what it looks like. And I'm going to have a little tidy up of all those metal shards on the roof now. And you really do get lots and lots of metal shards. The reason for the degreaser is that, as you can see, there are wavinesses. There's a
technical term I expect, undulations in the metalwork. So when the fan is there, there'll be a ruddy great hole underneath it for the rain to come through. So I need to pad this hole with this flexible gunge stuff. It's a bit like plasticine, but they use it on caravans, motorhomes, that kind of stuff. So you pad up the gap here so that the fan is resting on the top here. Oh, sorry about the bouncing, by the way, when I do that. Okay, sealing strip all round and building up the little valleys. One more layer of sealing strip, then some gunge on the fan, and then I'll drop it into place. And hopefully quickly, because although it wasn't supposed to rain today, there's the distinct aura of impending rain. We have a small hiccup. The groove on the outside of the vent, in which you are supposed to put the sealant they suggest, is actually further outside the cut hole than the sealing strips I've just put round the cut hole. Which means even if I put a big bead on here, it's not going to reach the ceiling of the van. So I think I'm going to put this into the hole, press it into the sealing stuff, and then just squeeze a shed load of sealant under the gap and round the hole. I think that's going to have to do. Quick change of plan, I added in an extra bit of sealant, including in the little gullies there, just to give it something to stick to. It's not terribly pretty, but I think it'll do the job. Stop moving, you bugger. Hinges towards the front of the van. Little bit of sealant coming out there, which is fine. I'm going to put some more around there in a minute anyway. Right, done, and I don't think it looks too bad actually. We've got the gungy sealing strips, then we've got the clear sealant, and as you can see I've filled all the gaps so no rain should get through there. On the side, I don't know if you can even really see this on camera, but it's all been gunged up. It's not quite so pretty at the back, but it'll do the job, I think. And here it is in situ. This is what it looks like from underneath before I've put the inside section on. And to do that I need to make a spacer out of some wood, because the fan needs a depth of at least 2.5 centimetres, 25 millimetres, an inch, and a maximum of 2 inches, 5 centimetres. Well, of course the metalwork on the van is very thin, even allowing for those ridges. So I've got some 25mm batten and I'm going to cut just a couple of pieces. Remember, it's not structural, the fan doesn't screw into it, it simply acts as a depth thing that the fan can squish against, because all the screws are internal to the fan design. So I'll just quickly saw up a couple of 28mm lengths of this batten, and then I should be able to screw the inside of the fan on. And to do that, I've bought myself a new toy. It is, of course, a miter saw, or as I've named it, the Mighty Saw. And this is going to help me with all the woodwork for the van.
It's now several days later and we just really haven't had the weather for sticking the ceiling insulation tiles on. In fact, today, although it is a beautiful day, it's still pretty chilly, but I'm hoping that the ambient temperature is just about okay and that the van will have warmed up in the sunshine so that the ceiling tiles will stick. Anyway, let's find out. I've seen all kinds of ingenious ways to hold ceiling tiles in a van while they stick, involving wooden gantries and planks and all kinds of stuff. But as my van is quite small and I don't need a lot of all that, I've come up with a slightly different solution. I bought this extendable and spring-loaded pole, £3.49 from the range, and I bought 3 of them. And as you can see, it's got quite a potent spring on it. So all you do is stick it on the bottom, have a bit of a pad to take the weight, push it into place underneath the thing on the ceiling, and it will hold the insulation on the ceiling while it dries. That's the theory anyway. With the sides and ceiling insulated, the next step is either to start putting up the vapour barrier or to look at the floor. But I'll tell you now, the very next vlog is one where I put the rear windows in. So cutting the metal out the back of the van and bonding the windows on. It's all gone fine, but I'll tell you all about that in the next vlog. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.